Okay, first things first, I did not crochet a balloon. I've been trying to crochet a hot air balloon. Hi, I'm Barker. This is my crafting mainly crochet YouTube channel, and today I am attempting to crochet my own version of the crocheted hot air balloon nightlight, which has been all over my Pinterest page for I think as long as I've had a Pinterest page, to be quite honest. So we're going to dive straight in. As I'm creating my own pattern for this as I go, I've opted to use a colour changing yarn, this beautiful blue. It goes from a lovely dark blue to a light blue, and I've got my balloon as a reference. So I've decided to start with a few rounds of double crochet, that's UK terms, so single crochet US on the round, increasing by 6, just so I can get the basic shape of the top of the balloon first. I did then change to working in half trebles, still increasing by 6 on the round, until I got to the position where I could move on to using the granny stitch, which is what most of the hot air balloon images I've seen use. Now, a granny stitch is simply 3 trebles in one stitch, chain 1, miss the next stitch, and repeat. So that's 3 double crochet if you're US terms. Now, as I am still increasing here to get the right size, an increase with the granny stitch works as follows. You put 3 treble crochets in one stitch, chain 1 and put another 3 treble crochets in the same stitch. And that's basically what I've been doing all the way through this. I've been doing increases until I got to the right size for my hot air balloon. Then I did a few rounds of no increases, no decreases, but still using the granny stitch until it came time to decrease. Now, there are a few different ways that you can do a decrease with a granny stitch. One way is to simply skip a stitch completely. With the granny stitch, you are always working into the chain 1 space that you created in the round below. So an easy way to do it is just simply skip one of those chain 1 spaces and continue on. But I don't like the gap it leaves, so what I choose to do is break up the granny stitch cluster of 3 trebles across 2 spaces. So I put 1 treble in the first chain 1 space, then 2 trebles in the following chain 1 space. Then I chain 1. I just prefer this way, but as I say, it's just a preference. And then when it comes to doing the second round, I will just work in the chain 1 spaces. Now, when it came to how thin I wanted the bottom of the balloon to be, I wanted it to be roughly the same size as this tea light that I'm using here. So I just made sure that I kept measuring against it. And then for my final round, I did a full round of slip stitches just to give the base of the balloon a little bit more structure. And yes, that is a bit of a tight fit, but the light isn't actually going to sit directly in the bottom of the balloon. It's actually going to have its own little compartment just below, as these tea lights have a flame detail on them. So I'm going to use that flame detail as the fire that heats up the balloon. Right, so onto the basket for the light. I'm just using this cream yarn, and I'm simply working on the round, increasing by 8 until it's wide enough. And when it is wide enough, I did a full round in the back loops only, just to aid me with the curve up the side of this little basket for my little candle. And there we go. Let's check the fit, which would have been a lot easier if I'd used 2 hands. There we go. Perfect. And then that leaves us the basket to work on. So I want to try and have a very traditional sort of hot air balloon basket here with the divots in the side, make it quite deep. And I do want to make this look like a weave when it comes to the stitches, but first thing I'm going to do is create the base, which I do want to be square, but I am going to make it on the round. I know that sounds like a contradictory in terms, but it is actually quite easy to create a square on the round. You start with 4 stitches, then in your second round you increase by 3 inside each single stitch, so that takes your stitch count up to 12, and then for all subsequent increase rounds you make sure you're putting 3 stitches into each corner. And then when it comes to working up the sides, the first thing you do have to do is decrease every corner by 3. Now, I did go through a few stitches trying to figure out what I felt looked the most basket weave like, and I settled on this. It's 1 row of alternating front post and back post trebles, followed by a full row of double crochet, and then repeated with another row of alternating back post and front post treble crochet. Remember, that's all UK terms, so if it's treble, it's a US double. If it's a double, it's a US single. Now, for the curves at the top of the basket, I knew how to do this going in. It's simply using the different heights of stitches. So at the tallest part of the basket, it has a treble, so that's a double. No, so a treble in US is a double treble, yeah. And then just going down in stitch heights to create the curve. Now, originally I did try and use the stitch markers to aid me here, and for some reason that didn't work, so I just eyeballed it. And then to finish, I did this modified double crochet stitch where you twist your hook before you do the last step of the double crochet. And that's all of the pieces done. I'm liking the ratio of the basket to the light to the balloon. And now I've got to work on getting this balloon shape to actually stay stiff. Now, the original balloon I was working on was really cheap and it deflated on itself. So first things first, I am going to mix some PVA glue with water, roughly about a 1-to-1 mix. Then it was a case of blowing up my new balloon inside my crocheted hot air balloon, and then covering it in my PVA glue and water mix. I did really smother this, and as you can see, I've used my hands. I've made sure that absolutely every part of it is absolutely covered. Now, I did do this at night, so that's why I ended up hanging in this image, but in the morning I did transfer it outside because it is still absolutely roasting here in the UK, so we might as well take some advantages of the blistering heat. And it still did take about a full day to dry. Right, sorry I'm having to change your view here just so you can get a good sense of everything. So before popping the balloon, I thought I'd attach everything to it. And what I used to attach it was just yarn that I had done a full length of chain stitches with. Put a ring around the top, threaded it through to my light, then threaded the basket to the ring I'd already put at the top, and then it was time to pop the balloon. And as you can see, it has caved in on itself. I did try some repair work with it, trying to pop out the top of the balloon, but it just hasn't worked. I don't know, it may be the fact that I'm using acrylic yarn with the PVA glue and water mixture. I do know from experience this does work a lot better with cotton. But it's a pity because I do actually like the way it looks, especially hung up. As you can see here, the bottom part of it is absolutely spot on. So in the future, I think I may actually create a crocheted inside for this balloon, for the hot air balloon part, and simply stuff it. And there you go. Sometimes you get failures, but they're failures to work on. As I've said before, primarily this channel is about the first attempts and sorting everything out later. When I do actually sort out this balloon, I will make a short of it, and I will attach the short in the comments below or in the descriptions below. So keep your eye out for that, and I will see you guys next week. Bye bye.